You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Benazzi from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from SIBO. The Option Block is brought to you by SIBO. SIBO's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.sibo.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of CBOE Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively CBOE. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the CBOE products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Thursday. We are ready to rock. It is time for the Option Block, what the cool kids call the old OB. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the OptionsInsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you folks are binging and mainlining. Hope you're enjoying the slew of content hitting you folks from the Options Industry Conference. A lot more still up on the Pro that is waiting to come out to the full network. So all you pro folks are getting stuff early. You're also getting a bunch of exclusive stuff. So enjoy that. Unfortunately for the rest of you, that's not going out to the rest of the wider world. And of course, you also had an awesome pro Q&A earlier this week with some guy called Tosaw. I forgot how you pronounce his name. I think it was Lithuanian. I'll have to go back and check. But he was a weird dude, but it was a good pro Q&A nonetheless. You can get that, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to get all of that, including the OIC exclusives, including the exclusive shows. Congrats to Madam Gigi, the winner of our May Pro Trading Crate. If you join up now, you get your name in the hat for the June Pro Trading Crate. Trust me, you want to win at least one of these. The Rock Lobster is still mad at me that he's never won one. I've had to tell him many times, co-hosts are not eligible. It's only for the pro folks, but he wants one nonetheless. You know how he gets, listeners. Nonetheless, make him even angrier. Head on over to the Pro and win yourself a crate and then tweet about it on social media. He'll get very angry, which is always fun. And let's see who's joining us for a little bit of outrage today. First, let's go out to the hallowed halls of SIBO East, where we are joined once again by the Flowmaster himself, Mr. Henry Schwartz. From SIBO, Mr. Flowmaster, welcome back to the show on a fine Thursday, sir.
Howdy, Mark. Happy to be here. It is a beautiful day in New York. It's like I think we're pushing about 90 degrees, which I'm happy to see after we've had a lot of rain. May was double the rain we usually get. So it's a beautiful day. Market's pretty busy. There's all sorts of good things to talk about. So always happy to be here.
All sorts of good things to talk about. And we are also joined by the uncleest of mics. He's a happy camper right now, listeners, because he's going to be sitting on pretty soon, not just one, not just two, but 3 Road Warriors. I bet you didn't know there were 3 Road Warriors, but there are, and Uncle Mike's going to have them all. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the show. How giddy are you today, sir?
I couldn't possibly be happier with the result of that. And keep in mind the 3 Road Warriors I'll get will be 2 of them will be animal of the duplicate, but you can never have too much animal in your life when talking about the Road Warriors.
Never have too much animal in your life. As we keep on rolling, listeners, into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, here we go. Time for the trading block. Time to unleash the beast that is the market and see what's lighting up our tape. And it's another one of these days, listeners. You don't like what's going on, just wait maybe 10 minutes. You got to wait a little longer than you did a month ago or so, but still. Wild times. We started off green. That seemed like market. Everybody liked the call with Trump and G, and then apparently we don't like it now. Everything's kind of tilted into the red, but not crazy. In fact, the Dow just ticked green again. It's unched literally on the day now, so we're pretty much in a red to slightly mixed market out there. S&P, even though it's red, it was up about 1/3% earlier in the session out there, and now it has turned off about 0.1%. So again, not a world-ending amount of red, but does fit into that scenario where if you don't like what the market's up to, just wait a few minutes. NASDAQ off about 0.15%. And our old pal Nix, I'm having a hard time speaking today. Too much caffeine. VIX cash, though, looking a little bit frothier, which is kind of interesting. Right before showtime, it was at 17.25 and kind of vacillating around there all show long. Right as the show started, it ticked up 0.5 point. Now it's at 17.75, which puts it down 1.25 points from where it was this time last week. But again, kind of reflecting maybe a little bit of unease out there. You know what happened? Our chat was just celebrating, I saw them, the fact that SVIX hit a 15 handle. It's been struggling to get to that level. And you know, once you do that, guys, you just jinxed it. And now we're back to 14.75 in SVIX. So see, that's why we can't have nice things. You celebrate prematurely in our chat. I get it, though. I get it. You want to see some upside in SVIX. I feel your pain. Either way, VIX right now, 17.75. So we'll see if that continues to rally as the day progresses or if it drops back down during the show. VVIX was at a 90. I got a feeling that's looking a little bit frothier now as well. 91, yes. So it was down 5 points. Now it's down a whopping 4 points. So VVIX, if you kind of want to look and see if the market is still really kind of whistling past the graveyard or if they're still maybe expecting maybe another shoe to drop, just keep an eye on VVIX. It hasn't really gotten back down to maybe the levels you'd expect given everything else we're seeing out there. So interesting stuff out there, still within spitting distance of the par level, which is always an interesting level out there in the vol of vol land. If you want more talk like that, of course, stay tuned for volatility views coming at you tomorrow. And let's go out now. Let's go to the hallowed halls again. Let's see what's popping off in the lands of SIBO East. Mr. Flowmaster, it has been mostly, last week was mostly a gently drift up. This week, that gentle drift has had a few false starts in it. What's been catching your eye out there in the markets today and indeed this week, sir?
Yeah, today's more of a gentle drift sideways. But, the thing that stands out to me is, realized volatility has come way, way down. If you look at some of the shorter measures, 10 days or even the last month, we're back into like the 10, 11, 12 zone for realized vol. So basically, it's just telling you the market's not moving, more than 0.5% a day. That's why we see VIX, come back down to the 17-ish handle, right? our friend Steve Sosnick had a funny post on LinkedIn, I think this week, and it was basically, here's the trading plan. If the market's down, buy the dip. If the market's up, wait for the market to go down to buy the dip. And basically, that's kind of what we've seen people doing. Now today, we were up after it's funny, we had jobs number this morning. So the market did get a little whippy, but then it really did kind of head to the upside. But that has faded out. But I mean, literally SPX right now is down $1 and VIX is basically flat. So, it's the weather's turned warm in New York. And, I was talking to our head of global derivatives, Kathy Clay, last week. Volume in May was lighter. I think you're going to mention that. Still up huge if you go back a year or two. But for the year,
that's pretty strong for a light month.
Yeah, only averaging around 54 million contracts a day. But compared to what we saw in April, which was closer to 60 million, things have quieted down. And we were talking about why, and things have just gotten slow. And there's a little bit of fatigue, I think, over trying to position for what might come out of Trump. But, now, people are paying attention to the bill. They're paying attention to Elon and Trump having a little feud. And, but, in the end, the market's just kind of, bouncing around a little bit, but really not seeing much. And really what the markets are saying is that we don't expect to see any real fireworks, anytime soon. We know that can be very wrong, but that's the way things are out there. Volume's kind of muted. There's certainly some interesting pockets going on, but it's just kind of it's really relatively mellow out there.
Relatively mellow indeed. You know who's always a mellow guy? It's the Uncleist of Mike's. Uncle Mike, our chat is excited for you. They said silver had a pop, so you should be excited. In addition to silver, what's catching your eye out there today, Mr. Uncle Mike?
Well, first, let's talk about silver. Yeah, silver's up over 3% on the day. SLV was topped the day off at 30, at least as of now, at 32.77. So that's pretty exciting for all of the silver folk out there. The last time, and that actually tops the the recent high, by recent meaning last fall. But the last time silver was at this level, I am showing February of 2013. And that's a while. And so I think that there is a lot of fear of inflation out there. That is one area to where one of the reasons I think that we are having the rally, not so much we have had in silver, but also with gold. Gold has had quite the rally over the course of the last couple of years. So the inflation threats can be real. And I don't see the Fed cutting rates anytime soon, and at least in anything of any major significance. It'll be interesting to continue to watch Trump and the Fed do their feud over the course of the next couple of years, because Trump wants rates lower, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. So definitely something that's catching my eye with that. Of course, with the S&P 500, we almost hit the 6,000 mark today in the SPX. We got 5999.7. Couldn't quite hit 6,000 on it, but we're getting close. The day is young, and I think the exciting thing about that is that we are then the all-time highs that we had a couple months ago, 61.47 in the SPX. We're getting closer and closer to that. As of right now on the day-to-day, of course, the markets are actually, they're back to positive again. They were slightly down, but then I went to the other screen, they went back up again. So we have the option block effect that's taking them. When we talk, the markets go up, by gosh. So we're flat on pretty much flat on the day right now. But we're in sneezing distance of new all-time highs again in the S&P 500. And so it's conceivable that in the month of June, I could be saying my trademark statement. And that's exciting to me.
Triple road warriors within spitting distance of all-time highs. If this is not an Uncle Mike type of day, I don't know what is, sir. Silver popping. What more do you need? I guess you need the S&P up about 3%. Then you'd be super giddy, sir.
That's true, but we can see I can't handle all that much excitement in one day, so I had to tell all of my internet people just maybe wait a couple days. I couldn't handle all the excitement all at once.
Tell the cabal to hold off. I get it. You can't overstimulate. You got to spread it out a little bit.
You
out
do.
there. Speaking of overstimulation, Henry kind of buried the lead on May, but it was a pretty spicy month. If this is boring, then man, they all should be this boring. It wasn't that long ago, listeners, that the entire industry was struggling to put up, 3.5, maybe 4 billion contracts in a full calendar year. That was a hot year. 4.5, that was bonkers town. Forget about it. Now we're talking about 1 billion contracts a month. I mean, these numbers are just insane. The numbers just in from our friends over there at OCC, listeners. When I read you the actual May from this year number, it's even more impressive because May of this year, we did hit the magical, mythical 1 billion level. In fact, we beat it. 1.17 billion. Yes, May 2025, a banger month, 1.17 billion contracts with the B, listeners, up 20.1%. Where's all that growth coming from? Weirdly enough, not from index options. I mean, they're up, don't get me wrong, up nearly 10%. That's pretty good. 9.7%, but they're kind of the laggard of the bunch. 19.9%, that's what the equity options were up, which is a good sign. When we did that panel at the beginning of, I think it was last year, so 2024 at Stack, I believe Henry was on that session with me. It was JJ, a bunch of fun folks. One of the things we were lamenting is that 2023, we saw zero growth in single name equity options. They were pretty much flat. In fact, if you took out 1 or 2 outlier days, they were actually down on the year. So that was maybe a sign that maybe the small lot retail folks weren't playing anymore. Nope, they're playing, and a whole bunch of other people are as well. Check out that structured ETF, that defined outcome panel from OIC. A lot of people have been reaching out to me about that one. Luckily, we put it out for free for you folks on the network, so you can see what else is driving a lot of this flow. But nearly 20% increase year over year in equity options, and then ETF options leading the dance, at least percentage growth wise, up 23.6%. A weird outlier coming on the futures side. We know OCC mostly clears VIX futures. They must have taken something else off the board as well, because VIX futures down 26% year over year doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense, especially when we saw vol a lot more spicy in May of 2025 than 2024. But that said, Mr. Flowmaster, I know you kind of undersold it, but I don't know, 1.17 billion contracts sounds like a party to me, sir. What do you think?
Well, it's a good month, but I think we've gotten a little bit spoiled, right? And, we're for a little while we were kind of tracking for a potential 15 billion contract year. So that's come back.
Now you're getting greedy, sir.
Yeah. Well, there was a panel. Actually, it was at OIC where John Smolin said he could see us hitting a couple 100 million contracts a day. I believe he said 250 million contracts a day. Wow. was possible. And, we're still all celebrating that 101 million contract day. So, it certainly is possible. We certainly have the capacity for it. But April was kind of the perfect storm, right? We had some real volatility. You had a lot of money moving around, some kind of scary moments, and then some great opportunities for a lot of traders. So it's good. I hope that the June comes in a notch above May, but I will take it. You're right. It is still something to be very proud of.
Yes, very proud. We're all single-handedly responsible for that. Our chat, Mr. Flowmaster, they're already getting ahead of themselves. They're saying, what about 1 billion contracts a day soon? I don't know if we're quite there. Or no, I'm sorry. They were not quite that irresponsible. A week. Even that's kind of wild time. But I guess if John's talking, 200 million contracts a day, we could be there, I suppose. 1 billion contracts a week. Is the world ready for that, Mr. Flowmaster? I don't know. I don't know if anyone's ready for 1 billion contracts a week, but hey, John's a pretty optimistic guy. I like where his thoughts are taking us. Let's see where they're taking us today. Is it an optimistic day in the markets in terms of volume? Well, I guess if you look glass kind of half full, it's decent. Even in VIX, which is kind of sleepy, a little bit shy of 300K, 297. But that said, the ADV is back to a more seasonally appropriate 671. So if you look at it in that light, about 300,000. It's not bad. It's almost halfway to a day's worth of volume. Now, if you're back north of 1 million, that's a different story. But right now, it's not bad. So maybe we'll see that ADV grow a little bit again. Again, we're heading into start of June, so no one's expecting bangers. But then One call, one tweet could change all of that, listeners. The big dog today, 36,000 of the July 25s. So I went and did a little digging, listeners. I fired up the old Flowmaster machine, which you too can do, cbo.com/RMA, to begin your journey to the dark side, listeners. And it looks like it's part of a ratio risk reversal. The 2025 ratio risk reversal in July, listeners, going up for $1.59. That's funky. 2025. And there's also number 2 are the July 35s, 11,000 of those. Number 3, 10,000 of the July 20 puts. So a lot of July paper hitting the tape out there. Number 4, 10,000 of the June 16 half puts. So maybe we were talking on Vol Views last week about how the June 16 put seems like a bit of a bridge too far. Maybe like 16 halves better. That's opening today, so maybe somebody is down to play with a little bit of those VIX June 16 half puts. Let's look really quickly. Listen, let's see. What are those bad boys going up for? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think. What do you think a June 16 half puts should go for? I was thinking right around 15 cents, and it seems like that is the ballpark, 14 to 16 cents out there today. So let's call it, split the uprights and say 15. And so, yeah, you like those 15 cents? Is that just wasted money? 16 half, can we get there, listeners? SPY right now, 5.5 million, is looking pretty spicy. The ADV, 8.9 million out there. The S, also looking spicy again. So a little bit of that intraday whipsaw action seems to be driving a little bit of flow now. It's getting back to what we expect a little bit of up, a little bit of down, a little bit of vol, a little bit of action. That's what people have been looking for the last month and change. They kind of got used to it. Now they don't have it. They kind of sit there and twiddle their hands. ADV, about 3.4 million out there. Small caps, IWM, 580,000 contracts. The ADV, 1.2 million. And the Qs, 2.7 million contracts. The ADV, we're at about 3.99 out there. Now let's go out to the single names, listeners. Is it a banger single name day? The answer is yeah. It's looking pretty impressive. There's some hot action out there. And also, which is fun and refreshing, some new names in our top 10, which we always like to see. I mean, we love all of our usual suspects, our apples and all that fun. But you know what? Sometimes it's nice to mix around a little bit. Let's kick things off. Number 10, 330,000 contracts. So again, 350 is kind of our barometer for, hey, this is a banger. And then north of that, 400, 450 is, wow, that's explosive. Not quite there, but looking respectable, more than respectable. Gets us to SoFi, number 10. SoFi, 1410, up 65 cents or nearly 5% today. So a good day out here for SoFi out here. I'm not sure what's driving it. Just looks like more buyers and sellers out here today. Good for 330 and the number 10 spot. Number 9, back to Applied Digital. We talked about them. I think it might have been on the Monday show. They had a banger day on Monday, going from a little bit shy of $7 up to $10 on Monday. Now, that wasn't enough. They're 13 and a third. So in the last week, they've gone up $6.50 or 93%. Man, this one's been wild. We were talking about CoreWeave earlier. Well, Applied Digital is part of that trade as well. Man, pretty much doubling in the span of a week. Hot stuff. Number 9, APLD, 340,000 contracts on the tape. I could pull it up, but I think we probably know it's going to be all near-dated upside calls. Yeah, the June 15's expiring tomorrow. 40,000 of those were traded? Oh, my goodness. Now I have to look. Okay, 50 cents actually seems like it's the highest print. So 50 cents for a 15 call expiring tomorrow, listeners. Did we even get that high today? We got to 14.5 today. So at 14.5, I still wouldn't roll those bones, but some folks seem like they wanted to, and they were buying a lot of these bad boys. 50 cents. Again, who am I to look askance at any upside in these names because they just continue to go up until they don't. And then they burn you hard, listeners. Yeah, looks like the high for the week is about $14.5, which was this morning. So no bueno for those calls, but they still got a little time to work. Number 9, APLD. Number 8, the other half of that trade is CoreWeave. 139.38 off $23.72 or 14.5%. So my goodness, they're coming back to earth. You know what? They're still up, though. Over the last week, they're still up 30%, 31.5 handles, but they are off their high of 166.60. So they're at 140.60 right now, this tick. So they're off literally $26 from that high. But you know what? They're still up. They got down to about 105 last week. So Still a good week for CoreWeave. Of course, they got into all that drama with, of course, Google as well, and now they got APLD mixed into the fun. So there's a lot of fun going on out here in the CoreWeave APLD. Weirdly enough, we don't see our old pal Alphabet Class A, and it's too spicy of a day for them. We're kicking things off north of 300. Usually Alphabet Class A can't play in those waters, so not happening today. Number 7, you know who can play? It's the monster. Number 7, 415 on the tape. Looking a little bit less monstrous today. 375.43 off 270. We were talking about some other versions. We talk about MSTU a lot, which I call a product for degenerates on our crypto rundown program. If monster is not monstrous, I should say, enough for you, then how about MSTU listeners? A levered monster. Who doesn't need that in their lives? Well, Dan was talking about Misty, a yield max version of this. There's so many flavors of MSTR out there. It's kind of wild. Number 7, MSTR. Again, another reason why these numbers are so strong. You don't have to just trade MSTR anymore. You can trade all these variants. It's wild. It's just a wild time to be an options trader. Listeners, number 7, MSTR, 415. Number 6, talk about wild. We were just talking about selling the 40 puts in this name. What was like a month ago? Hood, number 6, 490 on the tape. Rumors abounding that they might be added to the S&P 500. They're up $1.86 or 2.5%, trading $74. They hit an all-time high of 76.75. Well, that's a 52-week high. Let me see if that's all-time high. Yeah, that is an all-time high. So just a wild run. Just in the past month, they're up 54% or 26 handles. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about selling the 40 and 45 because they were at $48 a month ago. My goodness, what a run here for Hood. I was just talking to those guys down in OIC. In fact, I think that chat might be hitting today, actually. They probably have a big smiley face in the few weeks since I talked to them. That stock looking pretty good. Number 6, it's Hood, listeners. Wow. Number 5, it's the fruit company. Kind of hanging out glued to that par strike, the 200 strike, 202 exactly right now, off about 80 cents today. Remember, we had that poll. Would you sell that Dees 200 put for $18 in Apple? I think most of you said you would. So interesting stuff. Looks like a decent trade again right now. Number 5, Apple, 520 on the tape. Number 4, oh my goodness, Palantir. You know what happened? Uncle Mike got us to redo our poll, our question of the week. So it's all his fault. Uncle Mike, I blame you for this just annihilation of Palantir that has resulted. 123.13 off nearly $7 or 5.33%. When we posted this on Monday, Uncle Mike, the gulf, such as it was between Palantir and NVIDIA, I think it was around $6. That has widened to a chasm now. Now we're talking $18. Uncle Mike, what did you do? You broke Palantir by making us post this poll again, sir. I put all blame squarely on your shoulders. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, I do that, and I call upon the buyers of Palantir to make things right, which they did in the past. So if we keep pitting them against each other, they'll both go higher. That's the whole plan.
I guess. Yeah, they can do $18 in an afternoon if they're really feeling like it. But yeah, literally since the moment we hit send on that poll, Palantir has just fallen out of bed. They are fallen down. Well, today they're off 5.5%, and they were up to about 135 earlier this week. So yeah, they're off about $12 from that level. My goodness. And NVIDIA has stayed firm or rallied. So yeah, hence that $6 going to $18 chasm. My goodness. No wonder why, spoiler alert, no wonder why NVIDIA's smoking Palantir in our poll right now. Number 4, Palantir, 618. My goodness. At this point, they might pass Hood going in the other direction. Number 3, the Amazonians, 2/10 and a third, up $3 or 1.5%. Looks like they're investing $10 billion with a B in a cloud infrastructure thing in North Carolina. Usually spending money, not a good thing for the stock, but I guess if you're spending money to work back into those magical letters of AI, I guess it's good. Number 3 today, Amazon, 666, the number of the beast, up about $4, just ticked right now. So number 3, we're only at 666, and then we jump up. Number 2, what is it? You're probably going to say Tesla, and you'd be wrong. No, it's NVIDIA. NVIDIA fallen to the number 2 spot today, 141.5, off about 40 cents, and needs to fall a lot more to make our Palantir battle competitive, listeners. Man, we were the kiss of death on this one. I take that back. Uncle Mike was the kiss of death on this one. Number 2, NVIDIA. 2.3 million, so it's a decent day for NVIDIA. Not exactly lighting the world on fire from a volume perspective. But you know what is the big dog retaking its throne? It's Tesla. 3.13 million. Tesla, 306, off $26 or nearly 8%. What's crushing it today? Well, A, it's a day that ends in Y. B, just the whispers, just the rumors, the hints of a bit of a rift between Trump and Musk is enough to send this. I mean, it rallied off their love fest. It's going to come crashing back to earth if they have a bit of a rift. So there it is. Tesla let's really quickly, just for fun, let's fire up the old Flowmaster platform again. Remember back in the days, listeners, we used to do the Tesla catastrophe puts. Let's just look and see. I'm guessing there's some hot, spicy puts out here. Par puts, that's not that spicy. I expected something a little bit farther out of the money, a little bit more outlandish out there. Well, you know what? I haven't done this in a while. Back in the day, I remember the Flowmaster made us a fun custom tool to analyze all the downside in Tesla. Let's fire that bad boy up. See if we get any wild prints. And you know what, listeners? How about the June 90 9-0? Now, this is what I was looking. This is the fun. June 90 puts expiring not regular June monthlies, not end of June, tomorrow. June 90 puts trading almost 20,000 times for a penny. And if that's not enough, we also have the 85 puts. Again, why would you buy the 85 puts for a penny 7,100 times when you could buy the 90 put? If you're going to throw away a penny, at least get the most you can. That stuff drives me crazy. We see that all the time. People buying calls hundreds of handles above where they have to and puts obviously below where they have to, and they get them for the same price. If you're going to throw money away, at least do it in a somewhat logical, rational fashion, if such a thing is possible. But yeah, just there we go, listeners. 90 puts expiring tomorrow. If you wanted to throw away a penny, almost 19,000 times, and then another 7,100 times on the 85 puts, that's a good way to do it there, listeners, as we keep on rolling right on into a little bit of the old odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's get weird, let's get wild. Mr. Flowmaster, doesn't that just warm the old cockles, bring back some fond memories, firing up the old Tesla downside put scan, sir?
Yeah, I forgot we made that shortcut. I actually just changed it for you, so it'll show you anything with strikes under 150 instead of, it actually was hard-coded for 100. So
that's how old it was.
Yeah, exactly. So I was actually looking at those 90s, trying to figure out what the heck, and it looks to me like a customer sold around 20,000 to open last week for a penny. So, which is also just as weird as buying them. Like, I don't really know what to say about options for a penny.
You just yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it's an interesting world when you know, they're having a spat, and obviously some of the policies directly impact the Tesla's business model. So, but that's how things work nowadays. So, see how it goes. But yeah, I have a couple interesting odd blocks today for sure. I had to actually, I know it's a fun day when like there's like 8 or 9 possibilities, and I just have to pick a few because we don't have enough time. I want to start though with the Unity software.
Let's get out there to Unity, sir. We were talking about this, last week on the network. Unity, of course, the big game engine that a lot of video games are made in today, listeners, and their company Unity Software, ticker symbol, they're going with what the cool kids used to rock. The old Prince, just a symbol. They're just the one letter ticker, aka U. Don't see that too much anymore. The 2510. We were talking about some spicy upside last week. I'm gonna go dig up exactly what we were talking about, but they're coming back down the other side today, off about $1 or 3.5%. On the year, though, it's been a wild year. A year ago, they were 1763, so maybe not net as wild as it's felt over the last month, but it's still up $7.50 or 42.5%. So they're looking pretty good. Though we say that, but Robinhood just did that in a month. So what the heck? They sold off to $13.90 back on August, the big meltdown in August of last year. Then they started rallying, got up to about 27, almost $28 in December. I guess the election was also good for game engines. Who knows? And then they sold off again to about $19 right around Valentine's Day. Then they popped hard very quickly. Must have had earnings in late February. February 21st hit their high for the year of nearly $31, $30.88. Then they sold off again. This is a very volatile game engine, listeners. Sold off back again, pretty much, not quite cut in half, but pretty darn close. They got sold off to about 17.25, looks like, in April. So the big sell-off, April 8th. And then since then, they've been rallying again, including another aggressive leg up from about $20 just about a little over a week ago up to, about $26 and change this week before coming back to earth a little bit today. But wild stuff. Mr. Flowmaster, what did you spot out there in Unity?
Yeah, so this is just, a whole bunch of people have been talking about these trades. They were very, very distinct. They were 10,000 lots, paying basically, clear-cut buyer. All of them printed on SIBO too, which is kind of surprising. They paid $3.25 for $10,000, and then they paid $360 for $10,000, and then $390 for $10,000, and between the $40,000 were on Wednesday and 30 were on Friday. They net opened 70,000 of these January 30 calls. The stock was around 24ish when they started and got up to like $25 when they finished. And yesterday, and I've been watching this closely because we can see from the data that the market maker community sold all of them, and it's a really big position for that name. It's also a name that has been associated with Roaring Kitty. I think in January, I found some headline saying that he had tweeted out a link to a song called Unity, and it's in the video game world, right? So we know that the meme community pays attention to this. So that stock got up to $28 yesterday. These calls were trading as high as like $590. Okay, so on 70,000 contracts or so, that's a huge, meaning they were up kind of $25-30 million on this position, but it's a big position. I actually threw them into our Silex risk management tool just to kind of model it out, and you could see if the stock really did take off, into kind of the meme stratosphere, this could be a $100+ million winner. But what's interesting is yesterday, from $28 when these calls were trading as high as $590, news hit the tape midday that their CTO had stepped down after only 6 months, and the stock got creamed. And it kind of makes me wonder if maybe they're put on this position so they could really trade some big gamma around it, because we see a position that big, and the way it was put on, it was almost like they wanted everybody to know what they were doing, right? So, possibly they're hoping to ignite the fires of the meme world. But given that, they had a big, high-profile departure and the stock got hurt, they're, even though these calls are kind of back down to, they're still up 50 cents or so on the position, but, big difference from $3. It'll be really interesting, basically, if the stock just continues to whip around. It could be a situation where they end up doing great because they're able to trade the gamma, even if the stock doesn't go up to, $40.
They savvy enough to be slinging that gamma. I pulled up your prints from last week, Mr. Flowmaster, and they're eerily similar, including another block for 440. These also were the 30 calls we talked about last week, Mr. Flowmaster. So this is apparently the strike du jour, the strike everyone's got to have, the 30s expiring in January, listeners, at all sorts of wild prices. So yeah, if we were talking about these last week, if you've been intrigued, more action out here on the Unity front. Any of you folks slinging some Unity? I'm curious. Hit us up. Let us know. As you go out to another name that's been known in the past to have some skullduggery afoot. Let's see if that's the case again. We were talking about this one recently as well. This is Kraft Heinz, ticker symbol KHC. 26.60 is where it's trading right now, off about 11 cents today. On the year, what's going on? Is it a good year for ketchup and mustard and related condiments? The answer is no. It's an appalling year, off $8 or about almost 24%. It was trading $34.70 a year ago. They got up as high, looks like, as about $36.50. That was right around the October timeframe. So oddly enough, ever since the election, even heading into the election, they started selling off, and they kept selling off. They had a brief reprieve in March. They rallied from about $28 in February up to about $32.25 on March 10th, and that was really all she wrote. They sold off pretty much almost $6 from that level down to about $26.60. Where we find them today, Mr. Flowmaster, sir, what did you spot in the hot name of ketchup and mustard, sir?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm long some Kraft Heinz. I think we did talk about it on Thursday. And I do like the stock. It kind of feels to me like a Warren Buffett kind of stock. I mean, it's people are always going to be consuming condiments and snacks. So the flow today is relatively light. I think what you were looking at might have traded over the last week or two. And yeah, stock hasn't really done much. So nothing too exciting in there. Although I think it's kind of a good name to think about possibly.
Oh, you know what? I jumped
a few calls.
I jumped ahead. I was looking at some others. That's on me. I'm way too hyped on caffeine today. I'm jumping all over the place. Let's go to the actual name. You're throwing too many K tickers at me today.
Yeah,
that's what it is. I'm gonna blame that and not my just insane madness going on here in the studio. I've only been back in the Chi-Town studio a few days. I don't know what all these bells and whistles and buttons do, Mr. Flowmaster. All right, here we go. Kratos Defense. I like that name. Kratos Defense and Security Solutions, listeners. That's a fun name. Talking about gaming, Kratos, a storied gaming name, makes sense with some defense out here. Obviously, a tech defense military contractor out here, listeners. Kratos Defense and Security Solutions, ticker symbol KTOS. They also sound like a name that might make one of those roving guard robots. It just sounds like something up their alley. Ticker symbol, again, KTOS, $40.62, up about half a buck or 1.25% today. On the year, it's been a decent year. I think you can call nearly doubling a decent year. It was $21 and change a year ago. They're up 19.25 or 90%. Looks like it's been mostly straight up and been topping out right now. Today, their high of all time was $40.94. So a good run, Mr. Flowmaster. What did you spot in this appropriate K ticker, sir?
Yeah, so this is kind of a funky one. I mean, I assume because it's a defense name that it's related to the big, beautiful bill. The block that I saw traded really early today. In the first 14 minutes or so, we saw a buyer pay 34 cents for 1,000 of the June 45 called. That's when the stock was trading 40.12. It came right after a couple other little nibbles. And this stock really kind of did take off, traded as high as 40.85 or so. This was just kind of a pretty strong, clear buying. And actually, when you go back and look at the last week or so, it's had kind of a pretty steady run of heavy call volume all the way back to kind of the beginning of May. And the stock has just kind of continued to trudge higher too. So it's up from 33 to 40 in 3 weeks, and the call volume has stayed heavy the entire time. So I don't know what they do specifically in defense, but they seem to be kind of picking up some momentum. Whether it's from the bill or geopolitical conflict, both of these things are very, very clearly in the headlines. But this is an interesting one. Might be worth some sort of a long position, whether it's in stock or structured in options.
All right, we'll get out of here on this one. Good old Chipotle Mexican Grill. I used to call them the stealth. You can call them stealth Apple, many things, but they have since split, and so not quite. And people know them now, not quite as stealthy. This is one of those early feathers in my cap. Also, one of the few times I wish I was in the Warren Buffett just buy and hold forever mode. This is one of the ones I spotted early Peter Lynch days when they were still part of McDonald's before they even got spun off. And I said, there's something to these. There was one of these not that far from where I lived. It was always busy. And when I saw they were going to spin it off into its own entity and go public, I said, I have to get a piece of this. And it worked out really well, 3, 4X, whatever the hell I got out of it. And then like the trader in me, I moved on to other things. It's one of those ones, though, if you had just done the old Buffett, throw it away and forget about it for a decade or two. You're looking pretty good on that one. Nonetheless, Chipotle Mexican Grill, $53, up $1 today, or nearly 2%. On the year, it hasn't been the best year. It's off about $10 or 15.5%. Still, year to date, you're looking pretty good, up 6,225% from that IPO level, listeners. So pretty good run. Mr. Flowmaster, I'm guessing some folks are snapping up some upside. What'd you spot in CMG, sir?
Yeah, so this was interesting because it was kind of a bunch of small-ish orders that added up to some pretty decent size. There were about 20,000 contracts in the first 2 hours on the call side versus just 3,000 puts, and volatility was higher. And it was the very short-dated tomorrow expiration 54 calls that saw the early action. They were most of that 20,000. But what's interesting is the orders were pretty small, like a few hundred here and a few hundred there. The largest piece was a 700 lot, and they paid 20 cents for that. Now, the stock did continue to climb, although it's really kind of pulled back a little bit since. But there's another big block of calls. About 10,000 of the June 55s, the regular Junes, were bought for 79 cents. And that was very aggressive. Oh, you know what? That's part of a 1x2. Looks like the June 50, 55. So maybe they're selling those 50s to buy those 55s 2 times. That's actually what that one looks like. So, bullish flow, as you mentioned, the stock has been, I think it surprised a lot of people with how well it's done. But again, just to kind of, what we're seeing now really with the market and just kind of, we had a pretty strong run. Now we're kind of maybe, kind of tiring out a little bit or going into more of a sideways mode, but people are still looking for kind of which stocks are going to be hot and putting some money to work. And, as I said, Steve Sosnick pointed out that, every dip is getting bought, and, this market just seems to have a lot of strength to it. Even though there's a lot of reasons you could argue about why, this maybe we're kind of due for a pullback. We kind of had at least a little bit of a pullback in April, and we got through it, and now it's back into kind of risk on mode, and that's what we're seeing in Chipotle. Looks to me like it's one of those places.
Looks to me like we got a little bit of the old Thursday mail block, so let's get there now.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, listeners, I was going to talk you through some of our questions of the week, but, we just talked at the top of the show. There's not much excitement in the Palantir NVIDIA battle because NVIDIA's smoking it, 63.6% right now. Also, looks like a lot of you are very content to buy spot as a way to trade Bitcoin. Although 40.6% of you, 34.4% of you like iBit, though. 18.8% going some of the crazier routes, the MSTRs and others. And 6.3% going old school, which is Bitto. But I want to get out a couple of questions coming in for you, Mr. Flowmaster, from the chat. Getting back to what you were alluding to earlier about these high volume days. We have the chat wanting to know what exactly is the highest volume day, single day for options volume, and what is that number? And then we have a related question. That was Nichols, I believe. And then we have another one, I think it was from MU, asking, what is the record for a week's worth of volume? So we don't call you the Flowmaster for nothing, sir. Do you have that data at hand?
Oh, man. So the all-time volume record, I remember it crystal clear. That was April 4th. That was the day after the Liberation Day. That was 101 million contracts traded that day, and that's the day SPX traded over 6 million contracts. Those records they blew through the prior records by 15 million contracts for the overall volume, and by like 1.4 million in SPX. Busiest week, I'd have to look around. We probably have some, plenty of weeks that are, in the 200 to 350 million contracts. especially I'll bet you it was beginning of April was where we would find the busiest week. But I'll pull that volume together, and you can post it, and they will have their answer.
Yeah, we'll tweet it out when you get those numbers for us. Our chat always throwing some interesting curveballs, but that's a good question. As we keep on rolling, listeners, and we go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on until our next episode. And coming into the end of the show, everything has kind of swung back to green to nothing. Dow is now up almost 0.25%. S&P up slightly, up about 0.05%. NASDAQ up a similar percent. And the VIX cash that had gotten that half a point lift right before the start of the show, right back down to 17.25. So our chat is happy again. SVIX back at about a 15 handle again. So if you're overwriting there, or maybe you're happy, or maybe you're writing higher, maybe you're just riding that underlying. Either way, a little bit of action out there. Uncle Mike's been busy all show. Listen, I could see him, and he's just been having a ball with his double animals. You got to put him down right now, Uncle Mike. We got to end the show proper. What are you keeping an eye on till our next episode, sir?
Well, just keeping an eye. I'm actually going to keep an eye on Palantir now because you had mentioned it. It was actually at 132 at one point today. Now it's at 122. So at least for entertainment purposes, watching that, I don't think I'll do anything because just we're managing our collars on it. But continuing to watch that along with bonds and seeing what 6,000 has to say to the S&P 500, and if the 6,000 and the S&P can meet one another.
All you Palantir bulls, send your hate mail to Uncle Mike at stcharleswealth.com. He's the one who forced us to post this poll, which clearly killed Palantir. I don't think it's ticked green since we posted it, Mr. Uncle Mike. So it's been a rough week for Palantir out there. But you too, maybe this is the time to scoop it. Maybe you love it at this level. I don't know. Get in there, make your voice heard. Mr. Flowmaster, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on till your next appearance next Thursday?
I mean, primarily kind of what's going on in the macro picture. We kind of feel like we're kind of in the middle zone in terms of, I mean, volatility feels low-ish, but, we've seen it lower. The truth is we're right kind of in the 50th percentile for at the money vol, at least in SPX. So, year to date, markets are green. Really, markets are green kind of everywhere. Europe is still leading the U.S. But I think that, with vol down here, I like it because it's not super daunting to own optionality. We're getting, market's not whipping around too much, but I think you can still think I'd rather kind of lean to be long premium trades than short premium trades, given where we are. And there's a couple little earnings coming up that might be fun to watch. Adobe and Oracle, I think, are next week. GameStop also next week. So you just never know.
You never know indeed, listeners. Well, there is one certainty in life, though, and that is when that music hits. That means the show is over. But you know what? We're not done with the content palooza, not by a long shot. If you said to yourself, I can't wait till Vol Views tomorrow to get my hit of Dr. Vix, then you know what? You're in luck. He's coming up in a little bit on Twifo. We're going to talk probably some nat gas vol. He likes crude. We'll see what else is on his radar coming up in a little bit on This Week in Futures Options. So if you're listening in the chat, just hang out, debate your most active days and your hood and your SVIX and everything else. We'll be back in a little bit, live in your ear holes with Dr. Vix. For everybody else, wait till this show is done, then hit next on your device of choice, and you will have myself and Dr. Vix in your hot little ear holes for a full hour of options goodness. But before we do that, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if folks want to reach out to you and ask you why are there 3 members of the Road Warriors, where should they go? What should they do?
stcharleswealth.com. Book an appointment with me on the website. Would love to have a phone conversation with any of our listeners. Always enjoy it. If you're looking for a financial advisor who is in the option space, reach out to me. Would love to have a conversation.
And Mr. Flowmaster, if folks want to check out these juicy Tesla downside puts, which I think we're back in that season, sir. I think that's going to be a popular search. Where should they go? What should they do?
Just head on over to Cboe.com/RMA. That's where our platforms and data are. And Cboe.com in general is great place to see what we are working on in terms of new products and market stats and everything else.
There you go, Cboe.com/RMA. You too can do some fun Tesla downside scans. You can look at all this flow we were talking about here. You can find a lot of your own flow. People are always writing to us saying, how do you find a lot of this flow? We have a lot of tools, and one of my favorites still to this day is the Flowmaster's platform. A lot of good scanning functionality built in there. So if you're into this whole options thing, you like a little bit of the old UA to inform your trading, only one place to go, Cboe.com/RMA, to begin your journey to the dark side. Trust me. It's a fun journey. You get a sweet red lightsaber. It's a good time. Cboe.com/RMA to learn more. It's going to do it for us on the old OB. Back again in a little bit with Twifo. Then back again, double hit in 24 hours on VolViews with Dr. Vix. And who knows who else is going to join us. Got to tune in to find out. Probably not the logins this week. I don't think we're there. And then, of course, after that, one final time for our pro folks, we're back getting weird, getting wild with a whole bunch of unusual options activity on Options Oddities. You want to check that out? And I think you do. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. Then we're back again on Monday. Uncle Mike and 3 animals in hand to talk a little bit of more options fun on the Monday episode of The Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of CBOE Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively CBOE. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the CBOE products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.